afternoon, good morning, good day, wherever you are. Welcome to World of Football. Today we're going to be doing a first edition of the weekend roundup. To World of Football, we're back for episode number 2 of LIGA Unleashed. Of course, you guys absolutely loved episode 1, so we're back for episode 2. We apologize for the delay, but there's been some stuff going on. We're back now. We're going to cover everything that's been going on in our Liga in terms of the Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, and all that kind of stuff. And of course, Mr. Kelvyn, how are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Lots of interesting games happening the last couple of weeks, especially in Europe. It's been very, very interesting to watch.
It definitely has from a La Liga perspective. Of course, 5 teams in the Champions League, 4 of them of the La Liga sides have progressed top of their group. We might as well start with Real Madrid, 6 wins from 6 in their group, relatively comfortably. Now I know. I believe you watched Real Madrid Napoli, and I believe, did you even do a watch along on the channel?
I did,
for the Real
yeah,
Madrid?
I did. I watched the game.
I know it's the game before the last one, but I wanted to get your take on Real Madrid Napoli, because and also, was it the first time you've seen Madrid play this season, and what you made of Madrid?
No, I did the game before. I did the Braga one. I think the Napoli one. I enjoyed the game, but I was a bit disappointed with Giselu because the amount of sitters I saw him miss was ridiculous. I swear I saw him like, every time he got near the box, he just kept trying to do bicycle kicks. I'm like, you just know you can tap it in the net, not have to try and do bicycle kick every time. But at the end, he finally got the goal. But it was a good game. You could clearly see that Napoli looked completely different than the Napoli I saw last season. They just didn't have much threat. Real Madrid were controlling the game. It was a fantastic game to watch, but it was just a bit disappointing to see the amount of sitters Giselu miss, because I was hoping to see more goals. But yeah,
It's always going to be difficult for Joselu. I mean, he's coming to effectively replace Karim Benzema, because Benzema left when Madrid weren't expecting him to leave. Joselu's only on loan from Espanyol in the Segunda Division, even though Madrid can buy him if they want next summer. But Joselu redeemed himself in the last game against Union Berlin by scoring 2 of the goals to give Real Madrid a 3-2 win. And as you said, Real Madrid played very well in their group, 1-6, controlled the majority of the games that I saw. And they have coped with a lot of injuries in recent weeks, to Tchouaméni, to Camavinga, to Vinicius, and others. So Real Madrid pretty straightforward. As you said, Napoli not as strong as last year, but they were probably the first 1 and 2 that we all expected for the group. Probably one of the big surprises in a positive way has been Real Sociedad. They were in a group, of course, people will know, with Inter, Benfica and RB Salzburg, and they ended up winning the group unbeaten. And here's just a couple of interesting stats on Real Sociedad. In the Champions League, they are the team with the most academy graduates in their squad. 12 of their squad have come through their academy. Their goalkeeper, Alex Ramiro, who's could be one of the 3 Spain goalkeepers for the summer, has kept the most clean sheets, and they won 3 and drew 3 in their group. They needed a point at San Siro midweek, which they got to guarantee themselves top of the group, which does give them an easier draw. As I've mentioned before on the last episode, they're a team that's gradually built year on year. We've already gone through some of their key players, and hopefully a lot of you guys that maybe don't watch Real Sociedad too much will get a chance to see them later on in the season, in the next round, of course, because they've definitely qualified. So fantastic achievement for them. Brilliant to see. Because, of course, we all expect Barca, Real and Atleti to do well. Sevilla have had a good history in recent years. And also, this is a Real Sociedad that have not been in the Champions League for the last 10 years. And I just want to ask you, have you seen them at all this season? And what have you made of their improvements from the outside?
I did see a bit of Real Sociedad. I think it was once when I was in the hotel, because I do sometimes when I go to visit my mum in France, I go to San Sebastian, because we go quite often, and it's good. That's the home of Real Sociedad. But
correct.
I've watched them a bit in the Champions League, because one of the Champions League watch-alongs, I do what I do call a multiplex, which means I have every French TV has a thing where they have every game all at once. They will keep switching games and they will keep showing. When I was watching this at Sociedad, they were very good against Inter. I think Sociedad have done very, very, very well. I think it's kind of helped as well that I think into the season, they're not the Inter that we saw last season in the Champions League final or the Champions League semi-final. They're completely different. But it's really good for Real Sociedad to finish first place, because it means that they're going to avoid a lot of the big teams in the round of 16, and that will hopefully allow them to get to the quarterfinals. But I haven't watched that much of them this season, but what I can say is they're definitely doing bits this season.
Yeah, absolutely. They play very attacking, possession-based football. I know people say that's the default for Spanish teams, but that's not always the case. They've got lots of intelligent players. We've mentioned Martin Zubimendi and others as well. So, and they're improving. They just need to be a little bit more clinical in front of goal. The home game against Inter in the Champions League proved that. They should have won the game easily, and they only got a draw. But they've also been solid defensively, as is going to San Siro and keeping a clean sheet to enable themselves to be top of the group. And they're only going to get better. And a lot of their players, not just academy graduates, but a lot of them are young. I don't know if they have the youngest squad in the Champions League, but they have one of them. And they have, decent experience added on top of that, with a couple of older players to balance the squad out. So Aguasil's doing a great job. Right, Atletico Madrid, again, they topped their group, completely unbeaten. Played well in the majority of their games. A group that we expect them to do well in. Lazio, Feyenoord, Celtic. They're sides that are good at home, but Atleti have managed their group quite well. What have you made of Atleti? Because I believe you told me, was it what you watched one of the games against Celtic?
I did, yeah, I did.
They drew at Celtic 2-2.
Yeah, I watched that game, and I was actually quite shocked to see Celtic play this well, because I remember Celtic in the Champions League last year, they were blitzing most of the teams in the group, but they just couldn't score. And same this season, they just can't seem to score. And they did against Atletico Madrid. I think Atletico Madrid have been very, very good. But again, this is the kind of player I've always been speaking to people about, and people keep going, "Oh my God, it's Kylian." I keep telling people the orchestrator for my country is Antoine Griezmann. I keep telling them that, because the problem is you can keep Kylian quiet. If you can keep Kylian quiet, that allows Antoine to do more of the work. And that's what happened against England, because you keep him quiet, but Griezmann got the assist for the winner. So Antoine Griezmann, for me, Barcelona was the wrong move. I don't know why he ever went there. He should have stayed at Atletico Madrid. And now he's gone back to Atletico Madrid. He's gone back to his older form and better form. And for me, the way he's playing at the moment, there is no debate. He is the number one starter for France in that Euro squad. And for me, he should be captain over Kylian, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Griezmann's been fantastic, particularly since the World Cup, probably. He didn't go into the World Cup on great form, but he had the situation because he was still on loan at Atleti for the start of last year from Barcelona, and everything else was complicated. I totally agree with you on the fact he went to Barcelona and he couldn't be himself. He couldn't play in certain particular areas on the pitch because they were occupied by Messi. But as you said, Griezmann's been fantastic. He's at the heartbeat. He's back at Atleti, and there's even talk that he may renew his contract. So, which will be even greater news for Atleti. Now let's move on to the only La Liga team apart from Osasuna who failed to qualify for the Conference League that are now completely out of Europe entirely, and that is Sevilla. They finished bottom of their Champions League group that contained Lens, PSV, and Arsenal. Only 2 draws. Lens at home and PSV away. The rest were defeats. Under 2 coaches, Mendilibar and the current head coach, Diego Alonso. Sevilla have got a very aging squad. They need a complete rebuild. And maybe this is a bit of a blessing in disguise because they've kept dropping into the Europa League, winning it, and the process has restarted. So hopefully they can have a complete and utter rebuild. They need to get players out the door. One of them could be on his way to Brighton in January, but let's find out. Let's see if that happens. And as I said, because they've got aging players on relatively high wages, it's not easy to get rid of them. So Sevilla might have that problem. It might be easier in the summer if they don't have European football. Of course, they want to have European football because it's better for the finances, but in terms of starting the rebuild and getting lots of players out the door, it might be, as I've said, a blessing in disguise that because they're bottom half in La Liga and they're way closer to the relegation fight than they are to the European fight, which is where they were a year ago. But they dropped into the Europa League this time last year and did what they always do, got to the final and beat Roma. So I don't know if you've seen Sevilla at all, and what have you made of Sevilla, again, from an outside perspective?
I've seen a bit of Sevilla, especially against Arsenal, watched our game. I'm happy they've gone out for the simple reason that I think if they were still in the Europa League, we wouldn't win it, because they always win it. So thank the Lord they're not in it. But for me, it's a shock to see they got completely out, because I would have thought Lens would have got 4th, because of course, I watch a lot of the French league. Lens for me, they've not been the greatest team in the French league at the moment. And they got 3rd, which I think is for the fact that they actually beat Arsenal. That's the win that kept them in 3rd. Yeah, I don't know how Lens got 3rd place, but I do think this is, as you said, might be a blessing in disguise, because this might be the message going up to the board that things are to change now, because you keep keeping the same squad. It's not going to always work. Things are to change now, because if they keep the same squad forever, I think there might just be a regular team that doesn't go in Europe anymore if they don't change things.
And just quickly before we move on to Barcelona, as you said, yeah, there's lots of pressure from the Sevilla fans on the president to go. And those noises are only going to get louder now for the fact that they're completely out of Europe. And Diego Alonso, the current coach, has only won 2 games since he's been in charge. They're both against lower opposition in the Copa del Rey. But let's move on to probably the craziest of all the Spanish teams, really, and it's Barcelona. Now, I say that because people will look at the table as I've got it in front of me and go, well, they topped the group. But they lost at Shakhtar, narrowly beat Porto after a not great performance, particularly in Porto. And then even though they topped the group and they were through, they lost in Antwerp. And that defeat's put a lot of pressure on Xavi Hernandez. There's reports from Spain of a breakdown between Xavi and the sporting director, Deco. So apart from the Atletico Madrid home performance a couple of weeks ago, the performances this season have not been great. So I think Xavi's on thin ice at the moment. He could be under real pressure. They go to Valencia, I think, this weekend. And if they lose and play badly again, Laporta, the Barcelona president, will have a big decision to make, because with the quality they've got, they should be playing a lot better, and they should be higher than 4th in La Liga. But yeah, the circus of Barcelona, because it's always a circus at the moment, just seems to be back in full swing, and they've got their money issues that are very much well documented, and they're trying to rebuild the stadium. Just again, really, have you seen Barcelona at all this season, and what have you made of them?
Yes, I have. I've been watching a bit of Barcelona now, especially because I wasn't doing a specific watch along on Wednesday. I was doing multi-scores. I was watching all the games, and I was watching the Barcelona game. I was like, oh god, they're going on at Antwerp, but I was like, it's a dead rubber. No one really cares. 1-1, I'm like, okay, nice one. 2-1 Antwerp, I'm like, okay, they're gonna don't care. 2-2, okay, 2-2, they're gonna get 2-2 draw. And the fact that in the space of 40 seconds from drawing 2-2, they concede again, I'm like, these guys just don't care. And for me, it's like, that's a bottle job and a half. But also, it's the fact that I've never thought Xavi's been good for Barcelona in Europe at all. It's good in domestic, but in Europe, not at all. Like, it keeps going in Europa League. Then when he gets Europa League, loses. In the Champions League, if we're being realistic, if they win a harder group, I think they'll be Europa again. They're lucky it's Porto and these teams, because they would be in trouble otherwise.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the point about Xavi's record in Europe. He has the worst record of any Barcelona manager in Europe for about 15 years. I think it's something like out of 14 games, he's lost 6 in the Champions League. Because of course, last year they were in the group of death last year with Inter and Bayern Munich. So like you said, Xavi's under pressure, and there was a couple of quotes because the squad list, because in Spain, the clubs release squad lists before the game, so everyone knows who's available and who isn't. Now, Barca's squad list going into the game midweek had a number of the big players that were being rested, Lewandowski and 1 or 2 others. All of a sudden, the squad list then changed to include the likes of Lewandowski, I think Ferran Torres and a couple of others. Xavi is interviewed in the press and is like, why has the squad list been changed? Xavi said, I spoke to the players, I spoke to the board, I spoke to the president. We all agreed that the squad list should be changed because if they won, they would have got more money, basically. Then a couple of hours later, or it might have been a day later or whenever, Deco, the sporting director, gives an interview and Deco says, we didn't do anything with the squad list, it's all down to the coach. So there's clear, and there was a similar thing at the weekend, which I'll mention about the Girona game later, where Xavi and Deco are saying the complete opposite of each other. And the feeling at the moment from some people is that the Barca board are now becoming undecided. Now, Laporta will have the final say because he's the president. But there's clearly a divide now between people that want Xavi to stay. If it wasn't Xavi, he probably would have lost his job midweek. But because it's Xavi, he's a club legend of Barcelona and one of the best players that's ever played the game. Well, as I said, it'll be really interesting to see how they respond in La Liga this weekend at a place that historically they've never found easy to go to, in Valencia. But let's move on. Now let's move on to the Europa League. Only 2 La Liga teams in it. One had the group in their hands a couple of match days ago, but completely thrown it away, and that's Real Betis. They only needed a point, I think, going into the last 2 games against Sparta Praga and Rangers. They've lost both games, so they've ended up finishing 3rd in their group, which drops them into the Conference League. Disappointing for them because the squad they've got, Pellegrini as manager, they should have been 1 or 2 in that group, but 3 wins, 3 defeats. They lost against Rangers last night, their first home defeat of any kind in La Liga or Europe this season. So disappointing for them, but at least they're still in the Conference League, so they've still got a form of European football to come back in when European football returns. But they have now got to play a playoff against someone that's finished 2nd in one of the Conference League groups. So that's just about Real Betis, and the other team to mention, of course, is Villarreal, who have had a bit of a crazy season. They're on their 3rd coach already because they had Sessien at the start of the season. They sacked him. They brought in Pochetta. They sacked him. Now Marcelino's in, and Villarreal are top the group because their form in Europe's been very good. 4 wins, 1 draw, only the 1 defeat. They won in Rennes. This will be a good question for you because you know French football. And they won in Rennes 2-3 last night. A late goal by Dani Parejo, giving Villarreal. And the great thing is, just like Brighton and Liverpool, the clubs we support, is that there's a bye now to the next round. Have you seen Betis or Villarreal at all? I'm sure you saw Villarreal against Rennes on one of the games. And what have you made of those clubs and what they've done in the Europa League this season?
Real Betis I haven't been able to really watch because, of course, the French football, they don't really do the multi-score and stuff like that, and they only want to show French games. So I didn't watch that, but I did keep up a little bit with Rennes and Villarreal. I think, Rennes, not the same team as they were before because a lot of their big players have been stolen. such as, if I'm correct, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Rennes had Camavinga, Tchouameni was Monaco, correct?
Yeah.
So Camavinga left. He was a really good player in their midfield, because their midfield's not the same anymore. But there's a lot of French teams this season who've not really been impressed me this season, like Marseille have not been good. Marseille, they've been okay, but they've not turned up when they need to. Rennes neither. All the French teams have scathed it this season. It's ridiculous. PSG were nearly in Europa. So it's kind of crazy, but in my opinion, Villarreal done good, very, very good. Real Betis done very, very good. But, we've seen the fact that Villarreal have conceded 7 goals, which is not the best thing, but at least the goal difference didn't really matter. And they're through to the next round and enough to avoid a playoff.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Villarreal have had the change of coaches, but Marcelino will get things right. You might need a bit of time. We may not see it this season in Europe, but in the next couple of years, if Marcelino's there long enough and he gets the rebuild right, which I think he will do, then Villarreal, even if we don't see it this season, in future seasons, they could improve. Right, let's just quickly go through what happened last weekend in La Liga and have a look at what's going to be happening this coming weekend. Last Friday, Getafe beat Valencia 1-0 in a game that both teams had players sent off. It's historically been known as a bit of a game where two teams don't like each other. Great goal, a late header by Borja Marial. Las Palmas are surging up the table. They beat Alaves 1-0 away from home, even though Alaves could have easily scored 4 goals. But they didn't take their chances, and Las Palmas did. Great goal by Kirian Rodriguez, who's impressing along with the whole Las Palmas team after their promotion last year from Segunda. Real Betis got a 1-1 draw against Real Madrid. Jude Bellingham added to his goal tally. I think it's 12 goals now, top goal scorer in La Liga. Aitor Uribe got the equaliser for Betis, the right back slash right winger, with an absolutely beautiful strike. It was a good response from Villarreal on Thursday, because at the weekend they lost 3-0 at home to Real Sociedad. They were 3-0 down at half time. Goals by Zubimendi, Merino and Take Kubo in that game, and Real Sociedad played them off the park. Really, it was a fantastic performance, and Marcelino said that Villarreal performance will never be seen again, and thankfully for Marcelino, they responded with their win last night. Mallorca got their second win of the season, beating Sevilla 1-0. Controversy in this one because Sevilla had a goal chalked off by VAR for a handball by En-Nesyri. Didn't really look clear, but they reckon that as the shot's gone through, it's clipped En-Nesyri on the back of the elbow and gone in. So an important win for Mallorca, who are missing their best player, Vedat Miriki, who's still out injured. So those are the games. And then Atletico Madrid beat Almeria, who are rock bottom of the league and have not won all season, 2-1. Morata and Angel Correa scored. Almeria got one back. Cadiz and Osasuna, kind of the draw specialists, they got a 1-1 draw against each other. And then we move on probably to the game of the weekend in some ways. Barcelona 2, Girona 4, as Girona extended their lead by 2 points at the top of La Liga. And Girona put in an incredible performance. They took Barcelona on, played them at their own game and beat them, comprehensively beat them. And it was a beautiful game to watch. We've spoken about Girona in the last episode about, we know they have the Man City link, but the money is nothing compared to the budget that Barcelona have, and Barca looked a complete mess, and that was confirmed in midweek by what happened in Antwerp. Now, a bit of sad news from La Liga came on the Sunday afternoon game at Granada against Athletic Club. That was suspended after 17 minutes because of an ill Granada fan who unfortunately later passed away. So the game carried on the following day, and it ended 1-1. Athletic Club were 1-0 up when the game resumed. They carried it on from the 17th minute. Iñaki Williams, the Ghanaian, getting on the score sheet once again. Both clubs in La Liga responded in the only way they really could to stop the game. Athletic Club were asked if they wanted to carry it on. 24 hours later, they agreed. and then it was finished on the Monday night. So sad day for La Liga, sad especially for Granada, but both clubs responded in as good a way as you could. I mean, of course, I put a tweet out on Twitter sending my thoughts to the friends, the family, everybody connected with Granada. And when they fought back to get a draw against a very good Athletic Club side, that could be a very important point because they're down the bottom of La Liga. And one more thing to mention quickly from Granada is, of course, we spoke in the last episode about Brian Zaragoza, who, in between us recording the first and the second one, has completed a move to Bayern Munich. He's staying on loan at Granada till the end of the season, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on Brian Zaragoza, if you've seen anything of him, and what do you think about Bayern Munich buying him for, I think, around 13 to 15 million euros?
Am I correct in saying he's an attacking midfielder?
He's a winger.
Winger. Okay.
Right,
I'm trying to think.
winger.
So they're probably looking at like a kind of prospect backup to Sane and Kelvyn. I think that's a really good buy because I've not seen Bayern enough go in the market, because you see Bayern keep buying players in the Bundesliga. It's finally good to see them go out to the Bundesliga after getting Kane and getting a good prospect player. That now, because I don't think they've got enough good wingers to play on the left or right. It's Sane and Kelvyn, and that's it. Or they play Müller on the left or Musiala on the left. I think now that they've got this player, if Sane is injured or something like that, they can bring him on, and I think this is good depth of the Bayern side.
Yeah, I mean, it's money-wise for them, it's a no-brainer. Granada had spent a while trying to renew his contract to double his release clause, but just quickly, as I've mentioned last time, just a bit more detail on Brian Zaragoza. He's a very quick, dynamic winger. He loves to take players on. He's always constantly running at players. His end product is still a bit erratic. His shooting and he's already played for Spain. He got a call up for their game against Scotland at La Cartuja in Seville. And I think it's a good move. And I think the best thing about it for both clubs is that Granada get the maximum they could for him because of his release clause. And the fact of he stays at Granada till the end of the season. Bayern Munich are not taking him in January, so hopefully he can help Granada compete and maybe, say a goodbye with helping Granada stay in La Liga. So an interesting one to keep an eye on. He's young, but Bayern have done this in the past. They did it with Marc Roca. It didn't quite work out. The Spanish midfielder from Espanyol, who's ended up back in La Liga at Betis via a spell at Leeds in the Premier League. So we'll have to see. I mean, Brian's still very young. I think he's 2021. I do worry, even as you said, he could be a good rotation option for those wingers. I think he'll do well if he gets the chance, and that's going to be the thing we need to see. But if he doesn't, clubs in the Premier League will be looking at him for his time at Granada, and many La Liga clubs will be keeping tabs on him. And maybe if Granada stay up again and he's not playing, maybe this time next year he can have another stint at Granada on loan. And the only other match to bring you from the last match day was Rayo 0, Celta Vigo 0. Rayo absolutely battered Celta Vigo on the night, just couldn't score. The Celta goalkeeper Vicente Guaita, who some of you guys might know from his time in the Premier League at Crystal Palace, made a number of very good saves to deny Rayo. So shall we look ahead to match day 17? So this coming match day. And do you want to do the predictions like last time, Henry?
All right. So first match day, which is actually today at 8. Osasuna versus Rayo. How do you think this game will play out?
I think it'll be quite even. Osasuna haven't had the greatest form. They haven't won for a while, but the performance there haven't been too bad. But they need to win at El Sadar. They're at home against a Rayo side that's similar. They've had a really difficult run of games. Played well in most of them, apart from losing, I think, 4-0 at Athletic Club. That one will be close. I can see it being a draw, but Osasuna might nick it. I'm gonna go draw. I think that's gonna be a draw. Next up, we've got Celta Vigo at home versus Granada, as you said. How do you think this game's gonna go out for this one? This is a massive game down the bottom. Rafa Benitez is still searching for his first home win as Celta Vigo boss. He's only won one La Liga game this season at Almeria, who are bottom. And this is a game, if I have a quick check of the table, it's 18th at home to 19th, with the gap being 2 points to the team, and they've both only won one game this season. I think this is a must-win for Celta. They're at home. It will ease the pressure on Rafa, and Celta create lots of chances, but they just don't score enough. Aspas is getting towards the end. He's not the Aspas of 3 or 4 years ago who would bail them out every week. So anything can happen in this one, but because they need it so much, I'm going for a Celta Vigo win.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go Celta Vigo win. The win has to come at some point for Rafa Benitez, and I think finally he'll get it. And of course, we've got another big match tomorrow at 3:15. Athletic Club, Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one. Athletic Club very good at home in recent weeks. Atleti have struggled a bit away, but their home record's really, really good. I could see it being a draw, but if Atleti probably in their minds will have to go there and win if they're really going to fight for the title. But I'm going to go for a draw.
I'm going to go draw. I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to go Antoine Griezmann header. I think Griezmann might go cheeky header. Next one, a club has been struggling, as you mentioned earlier. Sevilla versus Getafe. How do you think this one's going to go out?
Well, it's a must-win for Sevilla. They're at home. Getafe are very difficult to play against, very well organised defensively. They've got a couple of people at the top end of the pitch that in Marial and Greenwood who are starting to get goals for them, particularly Borja Marial, who's the joint second highest goal scorer in La Liga this season with Griezmann. So Sevilla need the win, and they need a reaction from what happened, because they didn't actually play badly in Lens, but they lost. So I am going to go for a Sevilla win because I just think they need it. They just need it from somewhere. I'm
going same with you because, at some point I need to get the win. I need to bounce back after what's happened in the Champions League. So it's the perfect place to start. And of course, the big game of the weekend now. Valencia versus Barcelona. Xavi on tightrope, as you said. How do you think this game will go? Do you think this could be the sacking of Xavi, this game?
It's possible. Barcelona, even though I think they win quite often at Valencia, but it's never easy for them. It's generally only by one goal if they do win. Valencia have got a young team, a hungry team that are going to go at them from the first minute, and Barca have to be ready for that. So I'm going to go for a draw because I can't separate them. But if Valencia do win, and do win emphatically like they did against Atletico earlier on in the season, I think you're right. It could be curtains for Xavi. I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go a very tight win for Barcelona. It's gonna be one of those results where the kind of team kind of saves the manager, and I think it's gonna be 1-0. I have a feeling it's gonna be Ige Gundogan is gonna score, just like we did for Manchester City, scoring late goals. I think it's gonna do the same here. Next up, we got Almeria versus Mallorca. How do you think this game will go? Yeah, both teams are in the relegation picture at the moment. Almeria haven't won all season, but I can't see them beating Mallorca. So Mallorca have got the confidence from getting a win last weekend against Sevilla. So I'm going to go for a Mallorca win.
Mallorca win, nice one. I'm going to go Mallorca win as well. Then we've got the battle of the clubs named Real. So we've got Real Sociedad, Real Betis. How do you think this game is going to go for this
one? Of course, Pellegrini will be demanding a reaction from Betis from what happened midweek, but Real Sociedad will be on a high from what they've done in the Champions League. They're at home as well. They're very strong at home. I think they've only lost one game, so I'm going to go, Real Sociedad to win.
I'm going to go same as well. I think Zubamendi will get another goal. I really do rate him. Then we've got Las Palmas versus Cadiz. What about this game?
There won't be many goals because both these teams struggle to score them, but Las Palmas are on a great form. They'll dominate the ball, control it really, really well. And they're at home. They're at home in Gran Canaria, so I'm going to go Las Palmas.
I'm going to go for the first of my predictions in being a very boring 0-0 draw. So I'm going to go 0-0. Now we've got Real Madrid, Villarreal. Of course, Real Madrid have got to bounce back after the drawing last week. How do you think this one's going to
go? I think Real Madrid will win. Villarreal won't make it easy because Marcelino teams never normally do at the Bernabeu. Bellingham's probably going to score again. But Villarreal will, if Real Madrid aren't at it, Villarreal can be on a threat on the break with Morales up front and Gerard Moreno playing off him. So yeah, I'm going to go Real Madrid.
I'm going to go Real Madrid as well. I think Jude Bellingham will get another goal to his tally. And then we've got Girona, of course, will they keep their streak going, and Alaves. How do you see this one going? Will Girona keep their fantastic form?
Yes, they'll win against Alaves. I think Alaves aren't a bad side, but they're very different away from home. Alaves are way more attacking and offensive at home. Yeah, Girona might have to be patient because Alaves will defend very, very deep and Girona will have a lot of the ball. So Girona might have to be patient in breaking them down, but Girona have faced that problem many times this season already and have found solutions to win games. So that's what they will continue to do.
100%. For me, of course, this is the last game. I'm going to go Girona win comfortably, and I think for this is going to be big for Girona as well, because Girona, they want to keep this form going, and I think probably they could win the league, but I think I'm going to wait and see till a couple weeks before the end of the season and see where they're at. If they're 1 point off, 1 point top, they definitely could win the league. Anything else you wanted to say, Kelvin?
No, I think that covers everything. There is a midweek match day coming up this midweek in La Liga. So there's games on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then Atletico plays Sevilla just after that in a rearranged game, and then I think there's no La Liga games to the new year. So there's not too many games until, and then things will pick up in the new year, of course. And as you said in the first episode, the January transfer window will take a bit more of a precedence when January comes around. But I think we've covered everything. We've spoken about how other La Liga teams have done in Europe. Fantastic for 4 out of the 5 in the Champions League to still qualify. And you've still got 1 in the Europa League, and now Betis have dropped into the Conference League. So you've got La Liga challenging on all fronts, and I think all of them are going to be competitive one way or the other.
100%. Thank you so much for coming on, Kelvin. Of course, this is episode 2 of La Liga Unleashed. We'll be back hopefully again next week. Look at the midweek games and analyze all this kind of stuff. So people, again, Kelvin, do you want to let people know where they can find you on social media, like your Twitter/X?
Yes, I'm at Kelvin Brown 19. So
that'll be on screen right now. On screen right now, you can see the link in the description. Make sure to follow Kelvin for more La Liga stuff, and we'll be back next week for more. Please make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and we'll see you guys next time.